right, so let's see. Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon. I believe you're all doing well. I see a lot of young faces. So the Electoral Commission just ended the voter registration exercise. How many of you have registered for the first time? How many of you just registered? Let's see by hands. How many of you are going to be voting for the first time? Are you excited by the fact that you're going to be voting for the first time this year? Are you excited? Oh, let somebody talk to me. Are you excited? Why are you excited? Tell me. Who said yes? Tell me why you're excited. Please stand up and tell me. Why are you excited that you're voting for the first time? Hold on a second. Let's get a microphone to you. I like how you start. Fundamental rights. Okay.
Looking at the fundamental rights of Ghanaians, we are supposed to vote our leaders in so that our wishes can be taken into consideration so that they can act on it to enable the running of the affairs of the state.
Okay, thank you. Please sit down. And so he talks about, he has to vote. He has to get people into office. He needs to have a say. Good afternoon once again and welcome to CDS Africa's Youth Democracy Forum. The theme, as you know, is deepening your participation in our democratic process. And I started by asking you how many of you were excited about, voting for the first time, because for many of you, you may not have voted before, but most importantly, how many of you are interested in participating? Is it just about voting? What else do you like or not like about our democracy? The third in the series, when we went to Gimpa, I remember the board chairman asking a question. Have you given up on Ghana? What is it about this country's democracy that you do not like? I speak to a lot of young people and they keep telling me of how we have forgotten about them and how we don't seem to care about them. Not long ago, Sir Sam Jonas said, his generation has failed. I am not sure my generation has failed, but my generation could also fail. And it's the reason you should not be allowed to fail. My name is Winston Amoa. Normally, I'll be on the Super Morning Show in the morning, but today I've been asked to come here and moderate a conversation about how we can deepen your participation in Ghana's democracy. We will start with a short prayer. Shall we please bow down our heads in prayer? Heavenly Father, as we start this program, we pray committing it into your hands. Lord, we pray that you shall take control, continue with us and end with us. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen. We'll now take a welcome address by the Director of Research and Policy of CDS Africa, Dr. Abena Boateng. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Political Science Department, UG, leaders of students groups present, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I welcome you all to today's event, and I want to thank each one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here for the third edition of a series of fora dubbed Youth Democracy Forum 2024. We've already had two very successful YDFs in Gimpa and in Wisconsin University in the last few months. At CDS Africa, we are a think tank that recognizes the importance of democracy in Africa's growth and development. We believe that it is through development that we can build a fair, peaceful, and inclusive society for all. Because of this, our work is centered around promoting democracy, civic education and dialogue, policy research and advocacy. And we aim to generate innovative research to influence policy reforms and create an enabling environment that supports socioeconomic and political development. It is as a result of these that we have organized the Youth Democracy Fora under the theme Deepening Youth Participation in the Democratic Processes. This we see as a call of duty or a call to duty in recognition of the critical role of the youth in safeguarding democracies all over the world. Most of the time when we talk about youth and we talk about democracy or participating in democracy, we think that the youth are only useful when we need people to charge or when we need to say choboy, when we need young men and women to go and destroy things. But the youth are a critical mass. We are the people that can hold the leadership to account. The youth are the ones that can ask the critical questions, because when we vote every 4 years, the decisions that we take in the ballot box affect our future. And so we are the most important stakeholders in every democratic process, and we need to take that seriously. It is because of this that we've invited you here, that let us have a dispassionate conversation. Let us learn how we can participate in Ghana's democratic processes. This is not about partisanship. It is about being active stakeholders in the democratic dispensation that we have, not taking things for granted, taking our futures into our own hands, so that when we are asking questions, politicians will take us seriously, and through that, we'll be able to have the say that is required in our democracy. Given that this is an election year, we hope that this forum will serve as a platform to run awareness education initiatives that are targeted at our young people. We've carefully sought the involvement of persons who have committed their entire careers to the promotion of democracy in all its forms. And we hope that you'll be able to learn from these people who will be sharing nuggets of wisdom with all of us. I entreat all of you to follow us on our social media handles in order to be abreast of our programs, attend our events, because we know you will learn useful lessons from these programs and events that will equip you with the necessary tools to participate fully in Ghana's democratic processes. Thank you for participating in today's program. Enjoy every bit of it, and Akwaba to all of you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Abna Boateng. Of course, it's important that we participate. I don't know how you would define participation, but it will come in diverse forms. I'm sure when Professor Ali Dusedu speaks, he'll tell us how we can participate in our democracy. But most importantly, we'll be engaging all of you, as not just about, having a talk, but we get to listen to you on what you believe should be done and whether or not our democracy is serving its purpose. We'd invite Gifty Adobwa, who is with the Association of Philosophy and Classics, University of Ghana, to give us a short speech. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. All protocols duly observed. Permit me to kindly offer you top of the moment greetings. My name is Gifty Adobwa, the Speaker for AFICLA's General Assembly. And I must say that I deem it a great privilege to be before you this afternoon and to be speaking on the theme, Deepening the Youth's Participation in the Democratic Process. I mean, when we talk about democracy, I believe it's not unfamiliar. It's an everyday word that we hear at the lecture halls, on TV, radio, public transport, literally everywhere we find ourselves, we are talking about democracy. And so defining the term democracy, it is a system of government in which state powers is vested in the hands of the people, and it is often exercised directly or indirectly through a system of representation. So in other words, or in the short form, democracy is simply a government by the people. I believe we all know that democracy is a government by the people. As others will say, it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, in Ghana here, when we talk about the people of Ghana, according to recent demographics, let's go back to 2022. It's assessed that as of 2022, the total population of Ghana was about 33.48 million. Now let's jump to 2024. Currently, we are about 34.45 million, and that's an increase of about 3% from 2022 to 2024. Now with this figure we currently have as our entire population, the youths of Ghana actually occupies or constitute a significant portion of about 57%. And what does that indicate to you? That the youth occupies more than half of the entire population of Ghana. Did you get that? Right, so why am I making these statistics? And sorry if I am moving that fast. I have to move from here to KNUST right from here. So kindly pardon me if I am moving that fast. Now the statistics I just made, it's simple. And it offers an argument that if the youth occupies a larger number of our entire population, then it is necessary for the youth to be at the center of our decision making. Do we agree? And half of the entire population of Ghana. So why is it that there will be decision making and we will not be part of it? We are the majority, and majority rule is one of the key features of democracy that is indisputable. Right, great. And so that is the argument I am offering, that if we are more than half of the entire population, then we always have to be at the center of the decision-making process. And of course, you will believe with me that our participation in the democratic process is a right that we have as people, and this is enshrined in the Constitution of Ghana. Right. That notwithstanding, it is not just about having it as our right in participating, but looking at the fact that we are more than half of the population, it becomes a necessary responsibility, a necessary civic responsibility that we are supposed to uphold as the young people of the country. Are you getting that? Right. It becomes a necessity for us to, be involved in our democratic process. Right. And so encouraging the youth participation in the democratic process becomes a crucial for building a vibrant and inclusive democracy. It is essential to empower young people with the knowledge, skills, and opportunities to engage in the political process and make our voices heard. Oftentimes we ask ourselves, or some will even say that we are tired. If this government comes, I don't benefit. If the other one comes, I don't benefit. So why should I worry myself? I remember I used to say that why should I wake up like 3 a.m., go and join a queue to vote, and at the end of the day, do what? We used to say that, forgetting that there are numerous factors or benefits and other good things that will come about, and as a country we will all enjoy if we, the youth, will rise up to play a pivotal role in the decision-making process of our country. Now, what does the youth bring to the table when it comes to decision or the democratic process of Ghana? One, we bring about fresh perspective, and that is, as a youth, we call ourselves Gen Z, right? It's like we know what's up, we know what is going about or what is going on. And so we bring our new ideas, our innovative thinking to the political process, which can help address long-standing challenges and bring about positive change. And for instance, we can talk about technological innovation. Now, most of the youth are, in one way or the other, are engaging in a lot of things that's in technological wise, bringing about new things to our world now. And so the youth, we are full of that energy in bringing about new perspective that when considered and added to what we already have, can bring about something good to our country. Again, that's what we call intergenerational dialogue. That is, when the youth are allowed to participate in the democratic process, they have the opportunity to interact with the older people or those who are already in leadership roles. We get the chance to experience their wisdom, and that we combine it with our fresh perspective in order to bring about better and new things for our country. Notwithstanding, there is also inclusive decision-making that comes about, and that means that the youth will not be denied of their right and responsibility, but then they are included in the decision-making process of Ghana. We also get to celebrate the youth contribution. People now get tired because they feel even when they do it, they don't get the applause of men. They are not being celebrated. And so if we are allowed to be part of the decision-making process and we bring about innovative thinking, innovative ideas, we get the chance to be celebrated. And you know what that brings about? It will motivate others to keep bringing about new things. Do you get that? Imagine I'm doing one thing every time for someone. I know a friend, let me cite this practical example. I know a friend who was working for a company without taking salary because he felt he wants to do something to add to his CV for his future aspiration. So he kept on working for the company without taking salary every month. And it got to a point that, he's a human being. He was tired. He must always commute from home to work and back to the house. And so you, the worker, you are expected to at least show some form of appreciation. And that wasn't common. So if you are the person, what would you do? You back out. You get to a point, you just stop. Because you are not being celebrated for the good thing you are doing, right? And so if we are allowed, or if we actively get involved in the decision-making process, mind you, we would definitely get to be celebrated for what we bring to the table. And the final thing I would like to touch on is that accountability, that if we participate in the democratic process, we, the young people, will hold those in government or those who have the chance to be our leaders, we will hold them accountable for whatever initiatives they bring on board. They will be accountable for their actions and then ensure that they prioritize the needs and the interest of the youth and the whole people at large. Bringing my speech to an end, I would like to conclude that the youth can play a critical role in shaping the country's political landscape. By recognizing the responsibility, people can take active role in creating Ghana's democratic future and ensuring that the country remains a vibrant and inclusive democracy. It is essential to empower young people like us with the knowledge, with our skills and opportunities to engage in the political process and make our voices heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gifty, ending on the point that it's important that all of you participate in our democratic process. And, you know, you talk about the fact that, oh, I mean, if you get in there, people would celebrate you. If you get in there, they would, you know, get to know your ideas. I know there are many of you who ask the question, but how do I get in there? It looks like, you know, the old men have taken over everything and are preventing young ones from getting in there. Anyway, that's a conversation we'll have later on. But there's a Parliament House here. And there's a member of Parliament. So we now invite Justice Aloh, who's at the University of Ghana Students' Parliament, with a round of applause. Justice, which constituency do you represent? Oh, so I should be addressing you as Right Honorable. What did I hear? Exactly. Right Honorable Speaker. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Winston. A very good afternoon to everyone. And standing on the existing protocols, I would like to proceed, but then I'll do a special mention of my lecturer and head of the Political Science Department, Professor Ali Dusedu, who is here. Thank you so much for honoring the invitation. So I have a simple question here. What do you see? What do you see? I need an answer, please. What do you see? What do you see? You see a black dot? That's what you see? Come again, you were saying something? Okay. What do you see? I appreciate your answers. The late Kofi Annan, during one of his presentations, narrated a story when he was young. His class teacher actually presented them with a sheet like this. The entire class, what do you see? Kofi Annan said that in unison, they all said a black dot. And the teacher was surprised that none of them could see that there is a white space on the sheet. Most of the times, we focus on the negative and forget the positive in our society. I am a young person who is very passionate about deepening youth participation in our democratic process in Ghana. Because of that, in this young life of mine, I've had the opportunity to work with a civil society organization known as the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. And throughout my dealings, even as a student here at the University of Ghana, I normally seize the opportunity to ensure that my voice is heard on important matters that concerns students. Looking at the historical perspective of youth participation in our democratic processes, I'll take you back to history. In 1925, British West African students led by Ladipo Solanke of Nigeria formed what is known as the West African Students Union, WASU, in London. The motive of forming this association was to advance the interests of students and then to push for their welfare so far as accommodation and scholarships were concerned. Right here in Ghana in 1948, there was a riot, which was led by young ex-servicemen, which actually fueled our fight for independence. Let's go back to the Soweto uprising in South Africa in 1976. There were young people and students who rose against apartheid South Africa and to advocate for equal justice and education. Looking at this historical perspective, it clearly tells us that at every point in the life of young people or in the life of humanity, there is that era that young people rise to ensure that the right things are done. Africa indeed is a young continent, as statistics have it. Statistics says that 60% of the African population are people within the ages of 15 to 29. This tells us that this continent is a continent of hope, despite all the challenges we are faced with today. Election took place in South Africa on the 29th May. And we all know Julius Malema, who has been at the forefront trying to win elections in South Africa. But from the results that are coming out, we see that the ANC is still leading, and the EFF, led by Julius Malema, is somewhere around third. But one thing is assured, that the Julius Malema that we know is actually not going to back off from what he actually needs or hope for South Africans. That is what I want to present to you today, that there are challenges that we will face in our quest to seek for the rights of young people and then the collective right of humanity. But we must not lose the focus, we must not lose the energy that we have in our pursuits. Kofi Annan, in his book, Interventions, A Life in War and Peace, he had this to say, that young people are a force that, when harnessed, can help solve the problems of our world. Kofi Annan narrated the war that happened in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Darfur, and then the Rwanda genocide. He saw how young people were actually marshaled by people who had their parochial interest in destroying nations. So he said that in our generation, the young people are the force to ensure that we participate and then transform our world. Professor Larry Diamond, a known professor of democracy studies, in his book, The Spirit of Democracy, he said that democracy demands a culture of participation. And this culture of participation can only come from young people who are dynamic in nature and are very passionate in what they do. Here at the University of Ghana, we have young people who are very indifferent. I don't care. My parents brought me to school to learn, so mine is entirely education. So whatever that is happening around them, they really don't care. They don't care about what the SRC is doing. They don't care about what their department leaders are doing. They don't care about what their JCR executives are doing. They are just there. We must understand that if you don't care, definitely some people will care and then they will decide for you. We are going into an election year. It's true, you may have disappointment and maybe you are at the borderline of giving up on Ghana. But if you give up on Ghana, do you have another Ghana somewhere? Maybe you have dual citizenship, but I don't. I'm a full citizen of Ghana, and this is the country that I have. There's a time for us to participate in the democratic affairs of our country. And how do we do this? We must be engaged to be recognized. If you don't engage yourself, you won't be recognized. Even here at the University of Ghana, among your friends, there are people that you know them for something. When they mention this person's name, you know that this person is known for A, B, C, or D. That is how it is. We must be engaged to be recognized. We must be engaged in our mosque. We must be engaged in our churches. We must be engaged in our communities. Every nook and cranny of this country needs our engagement. To spark the change, you don't have to sit on the fence. Once again, we must also seize opportunities in the university community. There are bodies that actually groom young people, like the University of Ghana Parliament House. But I doubt how many of us took that opportunity when we even came to level 100. How many of us seized the opportunity to even participate in the Senate or the Parliament of our various halls or our various departments? I want us to understand one thing today, that our engagement must not start tomorrow. It must start today. We must be engaged from today to be recognized. I always have one thing to say, that our tomorrow begins today. No matter what we are doing today would have an informed impact on our future. Even as I bring this speech to an end, I want to admonish every young person here that, just like Sir Samuel Eson Jonah said that his generation has failed us, we shouldn't fail our generation. We shouldn't fail posterity. We shouldn't fail our children. I tell my friends that if you see me or whatever you see me do, I'm doing it for one thing. I'm doing it for posterity and my children. I believe that one day my children will have this Ghana and will be proud of it. When you go to Estonia, you go to Finland, Norway, these countries have active youth participation in their election. In the 2020 election of Germany, they had about 73% turnout of young people voting. This is what we must do as young people. We must go out there and participate, and this will help us in shaping our democracy, for our tomorrow begins today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker Justice Allow. I was hoping that you'd have said yeah, yeah, instead of, clapping. Or there are no parliamentarians here. Oh, you are here? How many of you are parliamentarians? I can't see. Show by hands. Oh, Honorable Minister, not your kind of parliamentarian. You remind me so much of my university days. A lot of young ones at the time engaging in all the discussions. Some are in national politics now. One of my friends who's not stopped taunting me whenever he sees me says, oh, you decided to go and sit on radio. I decided to go into national politics. So today you have to call me honorable. But that's just by the way. I'm happy that you're talking about posterity, you're talking about doing it for your children, but also at your age you can do it for yourselves. Because you can actually start a process that years to come, you look back and say, because we participated, this is why we are here. If you leave it to us, I am sorry, we may disappoint you. So the things that you like most, you do them. You don't expect somebody to do it for you. Well, I said that not that kind of parliamentarian, but you're parliamentarian. The good news is that you're member of parliament for Ayawaso West Ogun and minister in charge of sanitation and water resources is here with us. So let's welcome the Honorable Lydia Sayram Al-Hassan with a round of applause to give us a brief remark.
Hello, thank you, and I'm happy to be back here. Mr. Chairman, that is Prof. Blankson, Prof. Ali Duseidu, Head of Department, Political and Social Science. Madame Lucille, Mr. Richard Aherba, my dear brother, forgive me, my fellows, my dear students, good afternoon to you once again. And I warmly welcome you to the CD Conference Hall at the University of Ghana, Legon. I feel honored to be part of this forum to discuss issues pertaining to youth in democracy. There is no doubt that the Ghanaian youth, there is no doubt that the youth of our country remain a critical resource to the 21st century nation building and development agenda. With over billions of youth across the world, Africa remains one of the most densely populated youthful continents. Ghana, currently with over 38% young people representing age 15 to 35, there is a need for conscious effort to make the right and meaningful investments in our youth. The spillover effects of investing in our youth come with enormous benefits. Like factories of production, the youth are the driving force for human capital, stimulating productivity levels for economic growth and development. Ladies and gentlemen, the youth become the raw material to be harnessed in achieving growth as a country. The future we want for Ghana beholds on all youth in leadership, aspiring leaders, students, civil activists, change makers, and entrepreneurs. Therefore, the youth, realizing that an opportunity to serve in the country is not a punishment, but a platform to write your own story as a Ghanaian by way of touching lives and bringing hope at the doorstep of communities in need. It is indeed an opportunity for shaping goals, vision, and destinies of nations. As CDS mission statement clearly depicted, that they believe democracy is a key to building a fair, peaceful, and inclusive society. So therefore, it beholds on hearts, stakeholders, to create an enabling environment for the youth to participate in the democratic process towards building a healthy and vibrant nation. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to highlight some few strategies available in deepening youth participation in democratic process. Voter education, youth-led organizations, social media campaigns, internship and fellowship, youth-friendly political events, and inclusive political parties. I am delighted to be part of this forum, which seeks to inculcate the youth to many avenues available for their empowerment. Furthermore, as we prepare to exhibit our civil rights as Ghanaians in December this year, it is my fervent prayer that the youth of our country will use their knowledge acquired from this forum to be ambassadors of change while raising the flag of Ghana high before, during, and after the December polls. It is also expected that we all play our parts in contributing to fair, peaceful, and inclusive society. In conclusion, I borrow the words of Mahatma Gandhi, and I quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." African youth becoming agents of change, irrespective of our political colors, ethnicity, educational or social status, race, gender. Drawing from this inspiration, it is my hope that the Ghanaian youth will raise their head and high in fulfilling their mandate to nation building. Thank you for your attention. May our good Lord continue to bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
It was on. Thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament and Minister. Of course, we all have a role to play, and that role must start now. So we're live on Facebook at RGG TV, on YouTube is RGG News. We now would invite the head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Professor Ali Dusedu, to give us the keynote address. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. Our Honorable Member of Parliament for Ayawa's West Wagon constituency and Minister for Sanitation, Madam Sayram Al-Hassan Lydia. So I've not arranged it well, but I know it all comes in. Chair, Prof. Mr. Richard Ahiagba, Mr. Winston, thank you so much for always being with us throughout this enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly permit me to stand on the already established protocols and to speak directly to the issue of participation, especially in a deepened form by the youth in our democratic processes. I'm just going to be very brief so that we can have more interactive sessions, and then I'll move on. So basically, I'm going to start by trying as briefly as I can to operationalize what democracy is, but also participation. And then I say a little bit about the historical evolution of democratic participation. Then say a little bit about the dividends and setbacks of the democratic processes. Then look at how, where we can participate as youth, and then draw my conclusion. I always start this with a very important, elaborate quotation from John Adams to John Taylor, which was written in 1814. Two of remarkable US founders of the United States modern democracy. And in that particular letter, John Adams wrote to John Taylor, he stated, and I quote him, that remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. And basically, this speaks to the fact that democracy self-regulates itself, democracy grows itself, and democracy can commit suicide by itself. And basically, when we talk about democracy, attributing or personifying democracy, we are actually referring to the role that we, the citizens, play in the democratic processes. We can waste it, we can exhaust it, and we can murder it. The only way we can let democracy self-sustain and not commit suicide is to participate regularly in the democratic processes. So it is a very commonly used concept, though very diversified in terms of interpretation. But suffice to say that it's from the two Greek words, demos and kratos. This is Poly 101 for political science students. So basically, democracy translates as government of the people or government of the majority in the writings of Becker and Revelson. But as a system of government, democracy is not like monarchy, and it is also not like theocracy or autocracy or anarchism or all the other systems of government, simply because power, authority, decisions in the democratic processes should be exercised by the people for the benefit of the people and to serve the interests of the people. So when you conceptualize democracy this way, we can actually practice it as a system of government where it may be done directly like it used to be in the 5th, 4th century BC in the city-state of Athens, or it is presented representationally as we have now in our current modern system. But it can also be conceptualized ideationally. In terms of ideology, we are looking at the liberal system of government, which is the liberal democratic system of government, the majoritarian system of government, the electoral system of government, and all the other systems. I think about 18 of them. But what is more remarkable is the fact that in each of these ideological influenced definition or operationalization of democracy, there is a rule of participation of the citizenry. Whether you are looking at it from electoral democracy, where we are supposed to vote in competitive elections to select our leaders, or when you are looking at it in terms of what? The liberal democracy, where citizens will have to participate in upholding the rule of law, but also in preserving civil liberties of the people. Or when we look at it in terms of majoritarian democracy, basically the majority of the people in this country constitute the youth, and youth participation in decision-making process will make the youth interest sustained. Or when we are looking at it in terms of consensual democracy, consensus building is done by the people, and where the people fail to agree, will never be able to have consensus. When you look at it from the perspective of participatory democracy, it highlights how we, the citizens, participate in the ritual of voting, but also in attending occasions of this kind where democracy, good governance, and participation are discussed, or attend party rallies or social movement or public hearings where the interests of the citizens are largely debated. When it's about deliberation, we deliberate, we the youth deliberate. Basically, it's the act of citizens to participate in the decision-making process with the intention to shape the outcome of that processes to favor their interests. And when it comes to egalitarian democracy, it's more about we citizens participating and deciding that not only monetary wealth or monetary compensation can lead to the respect of people's rights, but it should also be about what? Economic value. So it should not largely just be social, civic, and political rights. It should also be what? Economic and social rights. And once we are able to advocate this and stand for it and fight for it, we'll be moving towards a democracy that allows people to live a better, cherished life. So the democracy, the system of government that we call democracy, is built on stages. And in each of these particular stage, whether you are looking at it from a regime that is non-democratic to a regime that is conflicted, paradigmatic, or consolidated, the issue of participation is very important. And participation is actually used to define the levels that we are looking at. So when you look at the first typology, there is zero participation. It's not that citizens don't have the ability to participate, but the level at which they participate brings very little influence to what they seek to do. But when you move to the second level, there is a periodic participation, i.e. elections. So we vote once every 4 years. Do you always want to vote and wait till the next 4 years to vote? Or there are other opportunities in the decision making? So the expanded regular participation actually deepens the democratic processes. And it's the same thing when we look at it from a democratic consolidation stage. There is not only regular participation, but there's also an imbibed democratic values and democratic ethos. And we build democratic values and democratic ethos by constantly participating to shape the decision-making processes. So participation, to the extent when we reach the highest level of democratic consolidation in democracies, it amounts to citizens' empowerment, citizens' ownership. So we, the youth, must decide what happened in this country to numbers, to do constructive, deliberative dialogue with parents, to be able to realize what we want. So a sustained democratic engagement aimed at making lives better for everybody through citizens' power is the best system of government that we can have. So I've been highlighting participation throughout my speech this afternoon. What is it? Participation suggests a level of involvement in a process, in an activity, or in a decision-making process. So collectively, when the public participate in decision-making process, the intention is actually aimed at what? Highlighting, addressing the concerns, needs, and interests of the people, and making sure that the values that those people stand for are incorporated into decisions that affect our lives. But this is not the first time that this has been done. As far back as the 5th, 6th century BC, participation was a very important process that shaped and conditioned governance processes. And you see this as far back as civilizations from the Athenian democracy, where the ecclesia was seen as one of the most important avenue where citizens directly participated in decision-making processes. So largely, people who were of 18 years old had the ability to participate in the democratic processes. But moving forward, it was not just consensual at that particular level, but it also highlighted the fact that people have the power, if the opportunities are given to them, to be able to speak to their needs and influence the decision-making process to favor the realization of those needs. And this has also been happening in Africa. So Robinson wrote about tribal democracies or campfire democracies in Africa. And we sometimes refer to it as discussions under the baobab tree or the baobab democracy, where people will meet and be able to decide based on their challenges, grievances, and needs what they need to do moving forward. And it's not only in Africa, it's not only in the city-state of Athens or in Africa, but this also happened in the Middle East, in ancient kingdoms as old as the Hittite Old Kingdom, as far as the Middle East, and across the continent. Basically, participation has been very instrumental, and they have evolved over time. But when we participate, what do we seek to achieve, and how do we participate? So there have been a lot of assumptions that govern citizens' participation. And the first assumption includes the fact that participation is and should be led by the government. So we always think that once the Minister for Sanitation doesn't call us to come and talk about sanitation issues, then we'll not talk about sanitation issues. Or once the President doesn't call us to come and talk about sanitation issues, we won't talk about sanitation issues. In actual fact, participation is, though mostly government-led, can also be initiated by citizens and civil society organizations. So we should not always wait for government to tell us to come and talk, then we'll talk. We can self-initiate participation through coming together, looking at our problems, challenges, presenting a position paper to the sector minister or to the MP and see that in our constituency, these are some of the challenges that we realize we are facing. And this is how we want to support you to be able to help us address those challenges. So participation is not always or should not always be government initiated. Most often than not, that's the case. But we citizens can also initiate participatory processes. The second assumption is that participation is and should be periodic and temporary. That is what people assume. But in most cases, participation can be one-off event. But in most cases, it should be regular, it should be conventional, and repeatedly guaranteed by law, so that at every point in time, citizens will have the rights and the ability and the power to participate. The third assumption is that citizens do not want to actively participate in the work of government. So sometimes governments say, oh, when we call for them to come and talk, nobody is willing to come. So people are not willing to participate. So we just do it the way we think is right. But in reality, citizens increasingly now express more desire to engage in public problem solving and have more capacities and skills to be able to do so. The fourth assumption is that citizens do not understand their individual needs and interests. And for that matter, if they are allowed to participate, they will rather speak to personal interests rather than public concerns. Actual fact, participation can provide citizens with the information they need to assess their own needs and interests as well as the needs and interests of others. And indeed, in doing so, citizens can become more aware of and open to broader public concerns. So there are different levels of participation, and the simplest we can do is what we call manipulation or therapy, where the youth are actually hijacked by people of personal interest or collective interest, and they are made to express those interests as if they were trying to represent the interests of the citizens. So non-participation, whether it's therapy or people just being consulted and their views are not incorporated into the decision-making process, all constitute aspects of participation that we technically think is non-participation. But the highest level of participation in the ladder of things, especially with Einstein's scheme, is what we call citizens' power, where the citizens have the right to initiate, sustain, and achieve what they want to achieve in life for themselves and for those yet unborn through sustained engagement. So basically, one of the best systems of government that participation can be realized is what we call democracy. And democracy, as we all know, is not static, but it is a continuous evolving enterprise. And as an evolving enterprise, it always has to be checked, reinvented, corrected, modified to be able to get the kind of desired results that we want. And without participation, we'll not be able to do that. And it must also be realized it's a universal human impulse. We all have the urge to participate, but sometimes you are either deceived or just resigned to your fate and think that even if I do, it won't make any change. Why don't you just try? So whenever there's an impulse for you to speak to something or say something, it means there is the natural invitation that you need to participate, and we must also do that. And cultures, regimes, civilizations have become better because people have responded to this natural impulse and participated in decision-making process. We are capable of deliberation as citizens, we are capable of problem solving as citizens, and we are capable of self-government as citizens. We must seize. So basically, how do we deeply get involved? One of the best ways is to empower and activate existing leadership, infrastructure, and networks. So at the university level, if you are the Hall of Residence and you want to make change, every floor has a floor rep. We have the Hall Parliament, we have the Hall JCR leadership, we have the XRC leadership and committees, we have the Dean of Students Office, we have the Vice Chancellor's Office, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, ASA, Pro-Vice Chancellor, always. So there are laid down structures. We have a Member of Parliament as a constituency, and we have various leaders and elected public officials that we can use to escalate challenges that we face and to be able to participate. But beyond that, we have public servants, ministries, sectors, local government officials, our assembly members, our elected public officials. Those are even schools, police service, headmasters, government agencies, librarians. These are all agents of what? Participation. And we must empower them and use them appropriately when the need arises. We have civic leaders, opinion leaders in our societies. These are people, chiefs, opinion leaders, family heads, religious leaders that we can speak to and then make advances towards if we think there are issues that we need to be addressed, and we cannot or we are afraid to start or initiate the conversations around them. But we also have professional groups. In the university, we have lecturers, we have doctors, we have people that are of high trust and respect in society that we can speak to be able to get these things addressed. So one of the roles we can play is to become conveners for platforms where people can be able to ventilate their grievances, register their grievances through you to be able to amplify or articulate it. But we can also become what? Organizers for public events of that kind that allow people to be able to participate. We can even become funders or donors. We can do crowdfunding to be able to fund very important issues that we think provide the youth the opportunity to be able to participate in the decision-making process. So one of the ways we can do it is to also use existing building blocks. There are a lot of social media groups that we all belong to. There are a lot of data and information available on social media about participation. We can gather those information, we can do leaflets, we can do pamphlets, we can educate people about how to participate and the benefits of participation. We can participate in discussion platforms on TV, radio, and other networks. And Western is here, he can get you a slot on Super Morning Show, the coveted program, to be able to air your views. We can also provide opportunities for small-scale decision-making processes, organizing student conferences, organizing student deliberative forums and public forums on campus to allow people to be able to speak. But we can also even expand it to the larger level, at the national level, town hall meetings, citizens assembly, meet the press conferences, and all those things. But above all, we can even volunteer our service to public officials, people that we think are actually doing this on behalf of the greater citizenry, and let them tap on our knowledge to be able to get things done. In all, we can never be able to achieve a good result if we are not willing to participate. We are all gifted in a way, and we only let people benefit from those gifts if we participate to shape and reform and move forward our democracy. I thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Alidu Seidu. Of course, we're always willing to engage young people because we believe that the young ones are the most important part of our democratic process and also in our economic well-being. You know, consistently we've talked about, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, but today we all know that if you have to develop, you also must develop with the people who are around you. And one of the reasons people look at the future of Africa and say that future could be bright is also because in Europe today there's a lot of complaint about becoming a world for old people. They don't have younger population. We're privileged to have a very young population, which means that the young population should be the ones helping us make decisions. I mean, you're right, I sit on radio, and you know, whenever we bring issues about democracy and everything, the young ones seem unconcerned. They're very excited when we talk about music. I don't know about you, but the young ones I have encountered are very happy about entertainment. Everything must be entertainment. Meet them today and ask them a question about some of the policies that we're talking about in this country. And they ask you, what is that? Me, I don't listen to those things. So, I mean, I don't listen to those things. Of course, it's actually moved all of us to, you know, get onto all the social media platforms today. The media houses are, you know, trying to reach out to you. So we all have the TikTok accounts and everything just to make sure that, you know, even in doing that, we reach out to you with the kind of information that we believe you need. Because our time will pass. You must take over. And when I say you must take over, it doesn't mean that you wait for me to fade out. You must actually be in it with me. Okay? The young president of Senegal decided to contest elections. He got the support of the youth. In fact, Macky Sall had, attempted, he postponed the elections. When they fought him, he backtracked. Elections went on, and the young man won because he had the support of the youth. And today, you have a young man as president in Senegal. It means it can be done here. We don't have to wait and say that, oh, you are too young to be. I mean, I want a situation where somebody would actually even go to court and say that that constitutional provision of being 40 years before you contest the presidency should be changed. Why? What is the determination of being sensible? So that it has to be 40 years? These are things I want to see people do. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I want people to do it. Who's prepared to take that on? Oh, you are prepared? I'll look for a lawyer for you. Let's talk after this. Before we get into the panel discussion, I'm told that one of you is a poet and has put together a nice poem for us. His name is Nanayao Edu Bimpong, also known as Jojo. I always thought that Jojo was for Kojos, but Nanayao Edu Bimpong. If you are here, please show up and let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon. I'm a bit nervous, so. All protocols was observed, and I'm Nana Yawedu Bimpon. I'll be bringing you a piece titled Patriots. All right. So a great philosopher once said, and I quote, "A government of the people, for the people, by the people." I end my quote. That we may speak our thoughts, express our rights, your actions to which I consent. With the velvety of this land in mind, pay me and listen to my concerns. Me and my brethren, young fledglings, with hopes in our eyes, beams on our paths. We pledge to this land with birthed our forefathers, whose bread will win. I pledge, not just as a promise, to uphold in high esteem selflessness and lead the heritage and essence. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Jojo. Good. It means it's time for us to get into a conversation now. And the discussants, Professor Ali Dusedu, please take your seat, as we've always been doing with you. Madame Lucille Hillett Annan, Commission Secretary, NCCE. Let's give a round of applause. The Honorable SRC President of the University of Ghana, Frank Chikata. Where's Frank? Okay, Frank doesn't seem to be here. Let's also welcome Ferdinand Fosu Blankson, who is Editor-in-Chief, GRASAC. Good. Where's Frank? Or does he have a representative here? Oh. The SRC president is not here. Where's the Right Honorable Speaker? I see him outside there. Bring him for me. Get him for me. Yes, get me Right Honorable Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please come. Oh, you are departing so suddenly. Or you want to have a two-man with me? Please have a seat, yes. You see, the speaker just came and sat down. He didn't even wait for me to tell him what he was going to do. I like that. It means that the speaker is ever ready. So thank you, all of you, for making time to join us. And the conversation is very simple, okay? We've been talking about the need to have youth participation in our politics, and as Professor Ali Dusedu, beg your pardon, indicated, it's not just about voting. As for voting, all of us would vote. But when it comes to the decision-making process also, the youth should be in there. Yesterday, we're excited a lot of young people are getting into politics, but we want to understand. And that's why I wanted you to be here, Justice Allo. We want to understand from the youth point of view, what is preventing you? What are the roadblocks in taking part of our decision-making process, in participating in the decision-making process, so that all of us together can solve these? So let me start off with you. What are the challenges that you face in wanting to participate in our democratic process?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Winston. Thank you very much, Winston. I believe that indeed there are roadblocks or there are barriers that prevent young people in ensuring that we actively participate in the democratic principles or the democratic process of our country. Even in our workplaces, if you are doing internship or attachment anywhere, you realize that there are a lot of bureaucratic measures and a lot of bureaucracy in ensuring that you even deliver at your maximum. So what I'm driving at is that there are a lot of structures that in and of themselves prevent young people from participating actively in
What are these
society.
structures that you talk
So
about?
these structures that we are talking about here, in our school system, before you get to, let's say, even the Dean of Student Affairs, trying to get something through, there are structures that you must go through. And whatever you are pushing through those structures will even get to the person you want to actually engage is also another issue. Our constitution, just like you narrated the story of the current president of Senegal, our constitution is actually a roadblock to our participation, active participation in our democracy or our democratic principles. The reason why I'm saying this is that I believe the Constitution of Ghana was actually formulated with a particular end goal, which in a way has outlived its purpose. And for that matter, there must be a rigorous review of the Constitution, saying that one should be 40 years before the person can actually assume to the office of the president or have that ambition, will actually kill young people with that passion, with that drive to actually lead Ghana at that particular level. I even believe that the age for contesting as a member of parliament, which is pegged as 21, should be even re-looked at. If we can actually vote at age 18, what is preventing us from representing our people at age 18? So, in our churches, our mosques, I don't know about, I'm a Pentecostal. In my church, there are hierarchy from deacon, deaconesses, elders, pastors, you go to the apostles and all of that. These hierarchies you must follow in order to push something through. It may be the same for your church, it may be the same for someone else. The hierarchies, I know they are there for a reason, but most of the times these hierarchies actually stifles the passion of people. Because if I'm pushing for something and every day I need to meet or encounter a roadblock, somebody's telling me to do this, somebody's telling me to do that, and I do it, I meet another person, it actually discourages people who don't have the temerity or don't have that kind of energy to keep pushing.
Okay.
And young people here will attest to the fact that these roadblocks and other economic factors are actually preventing them from participating actively in the democratic principle or democratic process.
Okay. You talk about economic factors. I'll come back to you on that, but let me get to Ferdinand Fosu-Blankson, who is editor-in-chief of GRASAG. And Ferdinand, you also, I just want to understand, because we don't find a lot of young people participating in a democratic process. So from your point of view, what's the problem?
Thank you very much. I think, first and foremost, I'll take the issue from a macro level by looking at what happens at a micro level. Now, the relationship here is that the media space, the popular space, is being manipulated and controlled by people of power. And by so doing, they try to manipulate the minds of the young ones. And Prof demonstrated it through participation, the engagement of participation, looking at therapy and the other approach. So what I think is that some of these roadblocks come in when you make people feel like for you to be included in doing something, you must have an interest. The interest you have, if it is what? Pragmatic, then young people will seem to want to kowtow to it. So then let's give some young people some motivation like money, incentives. If we do that, we get to what? Attract them. And young people seem to think that when this pragmatic inclusion is done, then they should go that way. Then with that, they want to participate. Otherwise, they want to be nonchalant. They want to sit back and not engage in whatever is going on because they are already forfeiting at a very early stage. A young person should have the zeal and the will to power to want to cause change at any point in time. But they seem to be relenting because they feel like the people with power are the ones in control and they cannot do much. The young people are forgetting that they are the ones who wield power. So they are the ones who can cause change. And the whole macro level manipulation has captured the minds of the young ones today. And that's the biggest problem in this country. So to manipulate these young ones to think that if you come along with us, we'll do this for you, then they are actively participating.
So if I get you clearly, you're saying that these young ones have been manipulated to do the bidding of these people,
yes,
instead of focusing on their own interest.
Yes.
Okay. But if you know this as young people, why aren't you starting the change process from within?
Exactly. So not everybody has come to this understanding, and that's why some of us are there to educate the younger ones coming up. Some of us are good leaders, like some of you who are propagating this idea to us, and we will pass it down to the younger ones. And it starts from your various classrooms. Let's decide who is a rep for this class, a course rep, and nobody even wants to decide. They want to sit back, but they want to have equal representation. They want to have the same benefit at the end of the day. If we don't start that participating activity at our small environment, in the larger space, we cannot cause any difference.
Okay. Let me bring Prof in. I mean, you've made the point. I just want to get your view on this, Prof. I mean, is it a lack of interest? Is it that, these people, these young ones, have given up on the country because they think the country cannot really do anything for them? And I'll ask you that question to Justice. I just want to understand that. Yes, Prof.
Thank you so much. I think there are quite a number of issues. Even if they decide to give up, there are quite a number of issues. But I think the first has to do with our cultural, traditional orientations. So I think largely in Africa, it's assumed that once you are still a younger person, you should not sit on the table of the elderly. You are still very young to participate in. Even look at the age that we peg the presidents compared to the age that we are allowed to vote. That even if you can vote at 18, you are still not matured enough to lead the country until you get to what? Maybe age 40 or something. Even at home, when parents or elderly people are having a discussion, and you have a very brilliant idea as a young man and you want to share it. Oh, shut up, who are you? When adults are talking, why do you bring? So that element of cultural discrimination, against younger people, actually sometimes even shut them up. That when even they have something to say, they still feel troubled that I may not be welcome, right? So some of them just believe that, okay, say it's adult matters, let the adults do their thing. We are here. And that is a serious source of apathy towards participation, even where people have very brilliant ideas and those things. Even sometimes open forums like this, when we have town hall meetings, unless it's deliberately targeting or focusing on the youth, you could see that there may be a lot of people who raise up their hands. Sometimes even the moderator will start calling the adults, even before they get to the very youthful ones. So the first thing we need to do is to re-engineer this kind of cultural stereotype or misperception about the values of very young ones in terms of decision-making processes. I've seen a particular context in the constituency where we're saying this is just a young man. What can he do for you people when you vote for him? But that kind of deliberately debarring the the intellectual contribution and competence of the young people has to clearly be re-engineered culturally. But I also think it also has to do with that kind of generational preferences. How, even if you have a problem, how do I articulate it? You see, the kind of generation that we have they have their own way of speaking to each other and relating to each other and understand. They have their own language, their own way of communicating, compared to the more rather traditional way of listening to grievances, petitioning. So sometimes people believe that in the university, when you have a problem with your grade, you have to go to the department, pick a grade form, and then fill it, now submit it through the person. It goes to exam officer, head of department. When in other places, you can just create a WhatsApp line. When you have a problem, then you just send in, this is what I want, and it has to be addressed. So I think the channel of communication or the mode of ventilating grievances or even contributing towards debate and discussion and policy influence in the country has to some extent be modernized to be able to realign with the familiar terrain of the youth, so that it becomes very easy for them to be able to speak up, very easy for them. So you look at the national issue, for example, when they are discussing on social media, when something happens, then they put it on Twitter or X, and they kind of debate that it catches fire. So if you are not able to follow it at that particular party, you don't even know how they think. Compared to maybe writing a petition to the minister or to your member of parliament, they won't do it. So I think modernizing, revising, reforming our grievance addressing channels to reflect the generational expertise and confidence and comfort of the youth could be one of the ways that we encourage them to participate. But the last bit I just want to talk about has to do with the results. So I have been complaining all this while about a problem, and I haven't seen a response. Government or policy or duty bearers don't respond to me in a manner that addresses the problem. Then basically what people just do is either to stop complaining or just let the system be. So what we need to do is to activate a very crucial variable in democratic governance or good governance, what we call responsiveness. If citizens complain of a specific need, duty bearers should be able to listen to them, promptly find a way to address the problem. Even if you can't do it immediately, there should be a way to let them know that, yes, we have received your petition or we have listened to your concerns, but we are going to do it within this timeline. If I keep complaining of a problem and nothing is done about it, even sometimes no recognition is even given to your complaint, definitely people would feel that they are not welcome and they'll just keep quiet. So duty bearers, people in positions of authority, should prioritize the democratic variable of responsiveness and listen to the youth, listen to citizens generally, listen to their needs and find a way to address it in a manner that will encourage them to petition next time when there are challenges like that.
Thank you, Prof. Lucille, let me find out from you. It's a country structured in a way against the youth.
Thank you very much. I find myself as the only woman here. And I'm like, okay, is it filling the spots that there should be a woman here? Because other than that, maybe the SRC and the people, there should have been a woman.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me look at organizers. Okay.
Yeah.
They've taken note of that.
Yes. I am here not because I'm a woman, but because I represent NCC.
Sure.
So imagine if my director of programs, who is a man, had come. Then it would have been an all-men affair. So let us be looking at that.
Okay.
I've listened to the conversations, and I beg to differ to a point or to an extent. It's like we are not, I don't want to say attacking, but we are questioning the structures that has formed the foundation of our constitution and the roles that everybody has to play. Our constitution has a history. And so if you want to talk about our constitution, you should be able to look at the history before you make certain or you advocate for certain changes. The youth, to me, are not marginalized. It's when we talked, Prof talked about participation. Participation is not only being at the top. It's not only you being an MP or a president. That is when you feel that you are participating. The president of Imani, he's participating. He's not an MP. He's not a president.
Sure.
The youth, how prepared are they themselves to participate? That is the question. How prepared are they? If you look at someone who is 18 years, who wants to stand for MP, the first qualification to be an MP or a president or in some of the positions is that you should be a registered voter. When it's time for voting, we have to beg our children to go and register because you need to register before you vote. My 18-year-old daughter, I had to beg her and carry her to the registration center to go and register.
She wasn't prepared to register?
She didn't find it cool.
I like that term. You're learning from them.
Yes, she didn't find it cool. So I had to. Then I came to my senses that, hey, then I have to do civic education on my daughter. Because she doesn't feel that the time is ripe for her to register. And I didn't have to force and drive her to the registration center to go and register. So my question is, the youth themselves, are they prepared to participate? And there are leaders, there are born leaders, and there are leaders who are trained to become leaders. You just have to identify yourself. If you are a born leader, you need to be trained. Participating in the space. If you want to participate in the space, you need to be trained. At 18 years, you are still in school. A lot of people will be in the university first year by 18. Some come as early as 17. By 2021, you will be in your last year. Are you ready? Do you have the financial strength? Do you have the capacity? Because if you want to be an MP, you need money. You need money. But you can start to be an unit committee member.
But Lucille, must money be a barrier for participation in a democratic process?
We, NCC, what we are even talking against now is the monetization of our politics now.
Okay.
And the amount of money you need. Ask the youth here. If I want to give you 1,000 CDs right now to go and vote, will you take it? Ask them.
She's asked the question.
Okay. So if I come with Prof and I am ready to give you 1,000 CDs, the politicians call it facilitation or transportation to go and vote. And Prof doesn't give you anything. Would you go and vote for Prof? So if you want to be an MP at age 21 and you don't have your father's money to support you, how would you, but even the political parties themselves, for you to be elected as a rep for your political party, you need to pay some money for the registration and all those things. So you ask yourself, but have you thought of starting from the unit committee where you don't need any money to start? Have you thought of being an assembly member? Have you thought of being an SRC president? Have you thought of being your youth group leader in your church? That one prepares you for the task ahead. So I think that, yes, to some extent, the structures are preventing the youth from participating. But I think that largely the youth themselves should prepare themselves to participate.
Great. And let me come to you, Justice, a right honorable speaker. Because at the University of Ghana Parliament, we are in an election year. Have you, for instance, engaged those seeking to lead this country on what their plans are for the youth? Is that something that you are thinking about?
Thank you very much, Winston, for the question. At the University of Ghana Parliament House, we are actually preparing to celebrate our 20th anniversary. And looking at our program outline, we have engagement with politicians. And especially for us here, we are going to limit it to our constituency, the Ayawaso West Wogun constituency. So we are going to have an engagement with the two parliamentary candidates that we know. I don't know whether there are others, but we know of John Domelo representing the NDC, and then Honorable Seriam Al-Hassan representing the NPP. So we are going to engage these people to see what they have to offer with the students here at the University of Ghana. And even tomorrow, we are having a sitting at the SRC Union building, and we have a motion that we are going to debate, which we are going to look at the 2024 general election. Is it a catalyst for advocating or ensuring that we have gender parity in our governance process, or it is just political tokeism? So that is what we are going to look at tomorrow.
Right, Honorable Speaker, have you also considered that now you should be thinking about how issues concerning you are captured in political party manifestos? How are you getting them there?
Thank you very much once again, Winston. Like I said during my presentation, for the want of a better word, I would say I'm a young fellow with the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. During my formative stages from high school, after high school, I actually participated in their leadership program. And from there, I've been with them for some time now. And there is a student, let me say, think tank that the CDD has, which is called the Citizen Coalition of Ghana. We have the student chapter here at the University of Ghana. So at the Citizens Coalition chapter here at the University of Ghana, what we look at is ensuring that the voices of young people are heard, things that we actually want are actually incorporated in the decision making. And we all know CDD as a civil society organization that is actually chief advocating for policy implementation. So we see CDD Ghana and other civil society organizations to be best avenues to ensure that our suggestions on some policy proposals get to wherever they ought to get to.
Let me just ask you this question before I get to you, Ferdinand, because I know a lot of you would want to speak and our time is running up. Have you ever thought of the fact that if all tertiary institutions should come together and put together a youth manifesto and direct the political parties to tell you how they would implement it, they would run to you and start holding discussions with you?
That's a very laudable suggestion from you. I remember last semester, I got invited by a group of young people who were putting together what they termed as youth manifesto. So they were having their preparation at the BAM library. So I think there is a process like that that is happening with some other young people. But as university student, I don't know of any. And this is a laudable suggestion, like I said, and myself and other student speakers, I will suggest same to them, and then we'll see how best we can take that up as soon as possible.
Let me ask you a very simple question, Ferdinand, before I get to the questions. What's your take on our democracy? Do you like our current democracy, or you think that there's a need to change it?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that currently our democracy is interpretive and has its structures being manipulated by people within their context and situations. And with that being said, if you don't push yourself to the point of power, somebody in that position will take that decision for you. So I think that no matter how it is structured, the one who has the sword will decide. We ought to fight our way to the top. And what I said earlier, which Madame Lucille also reiterated, have you thought of participating at the lower level? Not even in your little space. You've not even conceived it. When you conceive it and you try to put it to practice, then you can climb the higher ladder. Aristotle is saying that we are all political animals. You want your interest championed, but we are not doing it. And looking at the democracy of Ghana today, if we are not in the position to do it, they will be deciding for us. I've conceived this thing before where an illiterate member of parliament, right, looking at the structure of parliament, where legal decisions or laws concerning the country Ghana are taken. If you have a member of parliament who is not well versed in communicating English, which in our parliament we are not normally allowing the usage of Akan or Chi or other language. If you don't have an MP who is well versed in communicating in English, and the person is loved by the people, voted into power, representing the people, the person cannot even communicate and also help in decision making on the floor of parliament. So this cut off by there are a lot of MPs who go to parliament and are silent. And democracy, which is looking a little more structured, is also interpretative at any point in time. So people who are there and have the big mouths, who are laudable, sorry for the use of the word big mouth, but the person who can speak has their voice heard. And those are the ones deciding for us.
Great, thank you very much. You want to make any point, Lucille, before I get to... Great, because I want a lot of people to ask questions. They're the reason we're here. So folks, it's up to you now. Show by hand, and I'll get a question to you. Okay, I'll get a microphone to you and you ask your question. Oh, the lady is actually sending a microphone around. So please, let's get up, mention your name, the department you're coming from, and then you ask your question.
Okay, my name is Agnes Donko from Psychology Department. What I'm coming to say, I don't know whether it's a question or a suggestion.
It can also be a suggestion or a comment, so no problem.
I wanted to say that from listening to the discussion and everything, it's only what Prof said, I think, aligns with what I want to share. Why don't we consider the issue as a mindset problem? Why do I say this? We are having this discussion here trying to encourage the youth participate. Forgetting that when the youth are participating, it's the grassroots people that are going to give them the power. What do they think about youth participation? Because I feel like in our constituencies, in our communities, when a youth stands up to do something or question something, they're like, oh yeah, what do you know about this? Which is very wrong. Like, we don't have to be 40, 30 to know that this thing should be done this way or this thing should actually go this way. I'll cite an example. So the roads in our area is really bad. And then I always see my grandfather go for this assembly meeting. So I asked them, why is it that the road is so bad? But you guys always go, you vote, we have assembly. Oh, Abino, me see, and I'm like, this thing is not Abine. If you people gather the community people and then everybody is involved, we can fix the road. It's a minor problem. We can just take our axes and we all gather and do. And he was like, into Ube to me, I'm like, now me say I'm relaying to you because.
But you see the point you've just made. If you had mobilized your colleagues, you would have solved the problem.
The thing is, I am in the community. My grandparents are there. My colleagues are there. Because of this same thing, when I call them, they will not even mind me. And honestly, in my community, it's like I'm the only one concerned about certain things in the community because I see my grandfather go for the meeting. Anytime I notice a problem, I put it to him.
Okay.
So haven't you guys seen that the police post is not working, but people are always complaining?
I get your point. I mean, we'll get back to that. That's a suggestion, a good one at that. But have you seen the boys who have been desilting, gutters? What's their name? Bus stop boys. Recently, they raised money for them. 30,000 online because they decided to do something. They started doing something. People saw them and said, no, let's help these people. I'll tell you one story. A lady was transferred to a school in a community. When she got to the school, when she got to the community, she realized there was no school. She could have just said, ah, you're laughing. Oh, okay, let me go for reposting. She did not take reposting. She went to see the church in the community and said, how about we start a school in your church? She started the school. Today, they are from creche class 1 to class 6. And the community actually nominated the lady for the Joy News Impact Makers Award. Because they say that with no money, she did this for us. If she gets national recognition, she will do better. The participation we're talking about is in diverse forms. Okay? So it could start from you. You can gather 2, 3 of your friends gradually. Anyway, let's get to the next question. Let me not be the one to be answering the question. Let's get to the next person. Let's take this roll. We'll come here, then we'll come there. Don't worry. Everybody will get a chance. Today there's time. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm Petra Sanab from Physics Department. I think it's good CDS brought this topic on board, especially for the youth, because we live in a community where students cannot talk. And it's sad, and I know one day our prof will become the vice chancellor and change a lot of things for us. Because University of Ghana graduates almost 10,000 students every year. And I can tell you on record, 9,999 are not courageous. They can't speak to leaders. If you look at our community, University of Ghana, recently they added 100 cedis or 130 cedis to our school fees. We have the speaker here. I don't know what they've done about it. And I spoke with Radio Universe that we need to talk about that. They gave me a time, Monday, 7. I went for them to tell me we are not talking about that because we are afraid of the people in authority. In University of Ghana, you cannot talk against people in authority. And we leave the walls of University of Ghana. When we meet the president, can we talk? We can't. We can't even meet our MP and share opinions.
Okay.
And that is why the youth cannot talk when we are discussing democracy. And me, when we talk about democracy, we don't practice democracy anywhere. Once you quantize democracy, I'm a physics student, so what I'm trying to say is, when you bring a limit to democracy, age limit, who is a Ghanaian? It's not people who are 21 years or people who are 18 years. My brother who is 5 years is a Ghanaian. It's a Ghanaian. So when the 18-year-old people go out there to vote, he suffers. And those who are enjoying free SHS did not vote for Nanado, but they are the people enjoying. So I think we need to expand the voting, the people who vote.
Okay.
So that young ones also becomes the president.
Thank you, my brother. Let's get to the next person. Yes, I see 2 more hands here. So two more hands here. And then we'll come to this. Yes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm Selom and I'm a service personnel.
Please speak up, Selom.
I'm Selom and I'm a service personnel. So I think this is mostly engaging what Madame Rousseau said. I think she was talking about the fact that the youth are not doing enough. And in talking, she mentioned the fact that the position of a member of parliament, the position of a president, are not the only positions available. I think when youth are actually talking about them being included. Now, I think what we need to know is that there are youth in a lot of leadership positions. You get youth as CEOs of a lot of companies at vital sectors of the economy. Do they not already know that what? There are youth there. I think they are talking about the fact that maybe I can also climb higher and shatter that glass ceiling. They probably want to be their president, right? So they're asking you, what do you put in place for us to actually become that president? Maybe you could create a conducive atmosphere for them. Maybe Akufo-Addo himself, His Excellency, could stand up and say that it's about time where we need youth climb up to the position of presidency, then a lot of youth will be incentivized to actually take up that position.
Okay.
I'm always with my father, and when I'm with him, he talks to me a lot about politics. He tells me history. I didn't do peace science, but when I was a student, a lot of people thought I did peace science because of how informed I am. I don't need anyone to tell me to go and register because my daddy has made it look attractive for me.
Okay.
Maybe your child at that moment, they want to go. I'm not here to condemn you. They want to go probably because you hadn't talked to her enough about it. Maybe others didn't want to go because they hadn't talked to them enough about it. But then there's always an exception to the rule, and that proves the rule.
Okay.
When you mentioned the case about the money, I could have gone without someone telling me, take 1,000 cedis and what, go and vote. And the present in this room are people who are actually holding key positions. He's the right honorable speaker. I'm sure we could see a JCR president and all of that. Are there not people who are holding some vital roles of leadership there? So I think that it's the role of the stakeholders involved. There are people that are wired. Someone knows what I'm about. So at age 15, he starts actually creating a channel to become that lady that leader that he wants to be. Another person needs someone to tell you that you can do it, and this is what you should do. So it would be wrong if we just assume that because one person has done it, let's all be that way. And maybe let's think about the way to look at different stories, not just one side story.
Thank you very much, Salam.
Thank you.
Let's get to the next person. Yes. And let's please make it brief so we can take a lot of comments.
So, my name is Jessica Ayram, and I am the Vice President candidate for School of Languages. I study Arabic and Political Science.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity. So, my question is, in addition to what Prof said about the cultural issue being a stumbling block for we participate in democracy, I want to also ask, will you also agree with me that your status in the community is also a factor? As in, if I want to contribute, if I want to participate in democracy, if I want to bring on board some important or vital contribution, because I am not up to that standard in their definition, maybe I will not be given that opportunity, or my view will not be taken seriously. For instance, let me state this example boldly. The chief of Aflau once was making a comment about the president or the government coming to solve a problem in their community. His view was not really taken so seriously, for lack of a better word. But when another chief, let's say, for instance, the Asante Hini, when he makes a comment, last time he was making a comment about privatizing the electricity, something like that. And his comments, whether for it to be disagreed or agreed on, the way it was welcome was somehow important than others. So I just want to have this clear. Is your status also not a contributing factor for you participating in democracy?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayram. I think we can pick the last one. Yes, the last one from here.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Erica Edujikadu. I am from the University of Ghana Business School. So my question will go to Ms. Lucio. Yes, I want to actually commend you for telling us reality, what is actually on ground. But then, I think that is the bigger problem in of itself, because the youth are not being prepped enough for this. It's not that we don't want to be prepped, but then it's just that avenues or opportunities are not being available enough for the youth to be prepped for this position. So I think that if more preparations if more avenues are given to the youth to be prepped for this, then we would actually unleash our potentials.
Okay.
And for the money factor, I would suggest that for the money factor to get into position, I'd actually suggest that the government give opportunity to people who have the potentials, but then might not be financially stable to go into those positions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take that as a comment. So let's move to the next line. Discussants, I see that a lot of suggestions and contributions, which means you have triggered these intelligent young ones to come out. Please, your name.
Thank you very much. My name is Kojo Ado, representing Social Watch Africa. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. Now listen to this part. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. You can never sit on the fence and say you are never involved. I tell you, I leave you with two things. Knowledge is power. Just as you read your Bible and watch your TikTok videos, as youth over here, I implore you to take into consideration the 1992 Constitution, which gave birth to the Local Government Act, Act 936, Amendment 940. It gives you a clear indication of what is happening at your local level and how you can participate in it. For you to be able to participate, you need knowledge. And I think that one of the discussants talked about it, NCC, Madam talked about it. You can't go into a space without knowing what the legal framework is, the operational manual is. You need to be part and parcel of it. When you are empowered with knowledge, that is when you are called to the table for your opinions to be taken, and that opinion will be implemented. Now we are here, a lot of people. When I ask you the roles and responsibilities as a citizen in Ghana here, you think your only level of participation is to go and vote. When you are done voting, that is all. That is not all. Be part and parcel of the democracy from the district, municipal, and metropolitan assembly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Good evening. Good afternoon. My name is Bernard Nila, the President of Information Studies and also a member of the Executive Committee of the University of Ghana. Now, I want to answer his question first. That's why didn't we argue on behalf of the students for the 100 cedis increment? We did. But it seems like there's one thing that happens normally in our university. It's like management acts as if they don't owe us any accountability. So they gave us 100 cedi increments. We argued. I think, Ayoba, you are part of the executive committee. We argued, but they didn't give us any response because they felt that they were not accountable to us. So I think that some of the ways that, well, one of the reasons why youths cannot participate in democratic processes is because the authority feels that they are the authority and they are not accountable to us. And the next question to the NCC rep, and please, is there a way that we can change our education curriculum? Because when you even look at the algorithm of our social media, it doesn't encourage patriotism. When you look at TikTok, I remember one person said that when you go to China, the kind of algorithm they use for their social media, they give more emphasis on their culture, on the Chinese culture, on why people need to participate in nation building. But here in Ghana, when you open your TikTok, the first thing you are likely to see is Agad.
Okay, let's get to the next person.
So thank you.
Yes.
Please, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jeffrey Eduyeboa, science student and General Secretary for Civic Education Club, University of Ghana. I'd like to share my view on two main things that has to do with the age factor.
And let's make it very brief.
Sure. that has to do with the age factor when it comes to youth leadership. I believe that I think it was last week at the political science department, I was also in a panel discussion just like this, and then they were asking a question on whether or not the age of 40 years should be brought down for the youth to be there. But I was thinking about the fact that how many of our youth leaders today have been able to get to that point of being flag bearers of the main political parties, because we know very well that in Ghana is a two-party state. If you are not a flag bearer of NPP or a flag bearer of NDC, your chances of being president of Ghana is very low. How many of the flag bearers of NPP or NDC have been there at the best among them, right? But then I know what I carry and I know what I want to do for the students over here, and that is why I believe I should be there. It is not about the age.
Thank you for using this to also do your campaign.
Politicians can give us promises, reasons why we should vote for them, and when they are fortunate being granted that power, they don't fulfill their promises. And as a youth, you come to tell me that you want me to vote for you. When you come, after you want power, you are not fulfilling your promise. How do you encourage me to also tell my brother to participate in decision making? So I think that is the basic reason why some of our youth feel not to even participate in our democracy.
Thank you very much. Who else is over there? Okay, there's one hand there. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so mine is sort of a contribution.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, like, I heard someone sing this song, right? We are all involved. Yes. All right. So, what I want to say is, taking it from my experience, personal experience, my hall, right? We had a little problem, and I reported it, and it got fixed. And it got fixed in like a week. Now, I got a friend yesterday. Was speaking. He mentioned that his hole, the washroom has been very bad for like years, 2 years now. I'm like, yeah, you see, for years and years, and it's not been fixed. And it's like it's just complaining, just talking, nothing is happening. Probably because we are not really like getting involved, you know.
Okay.
Getting involved and speaking to the right people. And that's the letter I wanted to share. That
no problem.
It's not just talking. Let the talk direct, and it should also follow direction, action too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a last hand. Okay, after you, then the last one. Then we'll be done.
Okay, thank you. My name is Philip, and I'm with the Department of Communication Studies. I want to say that one of the reasons why perhaps the youth do not participate is our institutions. Let's not go far. Let's take the University of Ghana, for instance. When I was at the business school doing my first degree, we had a core course, Fundamentals of Entrepreneurship. But if you take the student's manual, there's a clause there that says that as a student, you shouldn't even venture in any activity, any economic activity. And so you are teaching me entrepreneurship, but I can't practice it. Then it's sort of like hypocrisy here. And then again, in my student meal, I receive a lot of opportunities and adverts, this scholarship, this fellowship, and they are keen on the GPA. How about if they add, in addition to a good GPA, you should be a student leader, you should be a volunteer at Radio Universe. That perhaps will be another form of motivation for the youth to take up some of these opportunities. So the University of Ghana should start first. And then I'm sure it can, go up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's a lady here before we get to the gentleman at the back. Who'll be the last person?
My name is Gloria Squay.
We can't hear you.
My name is Gloria Squay, and I'm in the political science department. A couple of months ago, I joined a mock parliament program called Youth Arise Ghana, where we were active.
Please speak up and speak into the microphone.
We were active like politicians, but just not at the national level. We were given money to promote development in our communities, and we were involved in elections. I was having plans to tar the road in my community and also to engage the youth in cleaning, in having a general...
Allow.
And also putting recycle bins at vantage points. I had the zeal in the initiative, and I was very passionate about what I wanted to do. But when I went to solicit for the elders, the people were telling me that I was too young, and I can't do it because they thought it was politics at the national level. And the guy would say, I'm in Jenny Janvi. They were just discouraging me from doing it. Meanwhile, I had the passion and the zeal. So what the NTCE madam was saying, some people don't have to start at the unit level, or if you have the passion and the zeal to do it, you have to be encouraged, because I knew what I wanted to do. And I knew that I could do it with the right support. So please, let's be mindful about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, we have gone past all these rules. You just made up your mind. Time is gone.
So my name is Clifford Caleb. I'm from the University of Ghana School of Law. And I'm trying to say that it's not just about having the passion to participate. Sometimes you need the motivation as I remember when I was in SHS, there's this guy in my hood. He normally picks or he desilts the gutters. The guy now doesn't desilt the gutters anymore because he said he has vexed. So he won't do it again. And then with such instances, I've also been a victim because he's my friend. And then if he had started something like that, all the boys were willing to follow him. But then because they blocked what he wanted to do, the participation and everything that we were all starting, if we had started from my community or my part, and because of that, we all saw. And now when you go to the roadsides, they are all bushy and the gutters are all filled up, waiting for the rains to carry them away. And so I think it should be about, the participation should be also about motivation from the ones in authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please go back and go and do it. You two don't vex. Thank you, all of you. In fact, we've had lots of beautiful suggestions and contributions coming from you. I wish I could give some of you here the chance, but you know, we went row by row. And
if you have that desire to start and you don't have the opportunity to start big, please start small and gradually you will build up. And then also, do not be discouraged with naysayers. Whatever you set your heart to do, you will definitely find someone who will tell you that you can't do it. There will be someone who will tell you that these are the negatives, these are the issues. If you're a woman, these are the issues. If you're a man, these are the stumbling blocks. But you have to encourage yourself and tell yourself that, what can I do to help? There will be naysayers. Yes, I heard some people said that they need motivation. Please, motivate yourself. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucille Hillett Annan. Professor Ali Dusedu.
I'll just continue from where she ended. Us were all against them, but they fought back. And we are now all mentioning their names and looking up to them. Maybe it is a good name for yourself. So let's push harder, and we shouldn't be discouraged.
Thank you very much, Professor Ali Dusedu. Justice, right honorable speaker, yes.
Yeah, Winston, so the cultural aspect, I grew up from a home that I was allowed to speak. Whenever something was wrong, my mom, my dad, they don't actually call me from speaking. So I find it very challenging when I am in a room or an atmosphere that I want to speak. Something is wrong, I want to talk about it, and people try to tell me to shut up. So people normally have issue with me because I want to speak with the issue about the issues. So maybe the homes that we grew up from didn't actually help us in voicing out, especially in African homes. They will tell you that you are a young person, what do you know? And that is actually affecting us in our participation in our democratic process. Because when young people speak about issues, they are termed as disrespectful. They are termed as people that don't respect the elderly. We all know that there are young people that they talk about things and then at the end they say that they don't respect. But finally, I would like to leave you with these words from Kofi Annan when he met young people at the One World Youth Summit. He said that as young people, we have the capacity to do something about the things we believe are wrong. In our schools, our communities, our churches, let's stand up as young people to do something about the things we believe are. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. A big round of applause for all of them. So I see that some of you would have still wanted to ask questions. I've been told that you can get onto the social media platforms of CDS Africa. Just follow them and put your comments there, and the conversations will follow, okay? We'll continue the conversation there. So please don't just end it here, because time is definitely not our friend, but you can make a lot of time there. In moving on, we'll invite the board chairman of CDS Africa, Professor Blankston, to give us. Okay. So CDS Africa, thank you very much. Yes, you can do the presentation. Please do it. Who is taking it? Maybe you do it to the, you give it to the board chairman of CDS Africa. Together with the programs director, maybe you can come and. Please go ahead. Great. Thank you. Okay, Prof.
Remarks are made. The expectation is summarize what everybody has said. I'm not going to do that. You heard. I'm not a podium guy, so I've moved away from the podium. I want to see you right in your eye so that we have a dialogue. All right? This is the time for you to self-reflect. I am confused. And I don't think you are. And I'll tell you why. You heard what I said. That is the frustration that the late Kofi Annan was saying. That who is the Ghana youth? Where are you? Where are you? In this democracy that we're trying to build, where is your footprint? If I ask you that question, can any of you, we all come and then we hit political participation. Participation in democracy is not only about politics. Otherwise, we wouldn't be mentioning the guys who are cleaning the gutter. Right? I always say that any chief that comes on the TV or radio station and say that if the government doesn't come and build a toilet in my community, we won't vote. That chief must be distilled. You know why? That's a dependent chief. We, the youth, are also becoming too dependent. Dependent on our parents, dependent on the system, dependent on the politicians. And that is why when they give you two cities, 5 cities, 10 cities, 1,000 cities, you vote for them. It's the dependency mind. And I'll come to Prof later. Because some of you have identificational institutions, and Madam, we have to listen to the youth. I'm speaking for them today. We don't listen. Otherwise, we will still not be having those barriers that we put in the pediment, right? Somebody says, well, Prof, you are fortunate you did not work in Ghana. You didn't pretty much grow up in Ghana, so you're a little bit different. I am not. To what? Dismantle those barriers. Because it is very self-destructive. And I agree with the youth here. Because I've seen that in Ghanaian students will stand in front of me as their professor and ask me, sir, why are you late to class? Here, hello, that's a suicide. You'll be on a suicide mission. Prof himself is involved. So look, we got to be very, 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 honest to ourselves. Youth are telling us, Prof, you and I, we are heading educational institutions. We put barriers. NCC is one of them. And a whole bunch of other institutions. So please, Mr. Ahinyaba, this must be a national discussion where sometimes you have to bring the adults together. It's not really about the youth, because it's two sides of this issue. You can't go to your chief and even give a whole idea of what you want to do to add to the community. So it's very important. So barriers, we all heard that. Honorable Alassane talked about those barriers as well. Politicians. But please, please, participation is not only about politics. Keep that in your mind. So if we were to ask you, how can you participate in the democratic dispensation? Find other ways. I heard some of you talk about motivation. Ghana here, motivation is about what? Let's be honest. Yes, we've defined motivation to be money. What is you're also practicing what is called divisive participation. If I can tell you belong to one particular party, right? And everywhere I have gone to on university campuses, there is TAIN and there is TESCOM. And they don't even agree. And they have become enemies to each other. Why should it be so? You are also limiting your own participation because you've identified yourself, labeled yourself, and everybody else has become your enemy because they don't think like you. That is the sin of your fathers and forefathers. That is what Kofi Annan was talking about. That is also what Sam Jonas said. That is the reason why he said they had failed you. But you are on the same track. And that is why I said, I really don't know who you are. Because if you're on the same track, then why are you complaining? We will expect you to see what is wrong and fix it. Or forget about us and build your own beginning. But I don't see that happening. And there's a lot of deep stuff that has been said today. That young people are a force. It's not a new force that you see on the blackboard or so whatever. But young people are a force. You know what a force is? You don't know what a force is. If I hit you right now, I'm hitting you with a force, right? So it depends on the energy with which I hit you with. We are saying that you are energy. You are a force in this community called Ghana, in this democracy. So why can't you take over that force and make us see that you are a force? Currently, you are sleeping. It's sad for me to say that, but as youth of Ghana, you are sleeping. You've been sleeping for quite or remember the second line of the national pledge. Even know. Huh? You know. All right, tell me. No, it's not to be grateful and loyal. Huh? How many of you have actually, or do you even understand this? It says, I pledge myself to the service of Ghana. That is what this is all about. Youth participation. So, replace participation with serve. Youth service. That's all this is all about. I believe CDS Africa, through Mr. Heber, is frustrated with the youth lack of energy, enthusiasm, and all of that to participate. I can also tell you, all of you here will say, oh, I'm not happy with the way Ghana is going, right? Our democracy. But if you are not happy, and you are still sitting at home and blaming all of us, then it's still going to go down, right? So we need you to be actively engaged. So I'm going to put my paper aside, and I want some of you to tell me how you are going to be actively engaged going forward today, because we'll be going forward.
I believe in offering voluntary services like I always do.
Yes, volunteer. Volunteer to do something different. It's not only about, just volunteer. Madam, what else?
Aside, and then work with whoever power is written.
Yes. Be cooperative. Think inclusive. All right? Don't just look at those who are barriers. Look beyond that. Because like Madam said, Lucy said, there's going to be naysayers. Even if you construct the road, somebody will say, you should have done it this way. Don't look at those. All right, what else? I need 2 or 3 more. Then we wrap up. What will you do? Oh. Thank you. And I think we'll wrap that up. He's made excellent point. You should never be discouraged, because Prof said that democracy is a continuous thing. Building the democracy is continuous. It's not just a stage. And so therefore, what I'll leave you with is that going forward, all of you should pledge to serve your motherland. All of you should pledge to participate in your communities, in your schools, in your, name it, wherever that you can. And all of us have inner something that we can give. Nobody here is useless. Everybody can give something. You can all do something. And if you can't do it by yourself, team up with somebody or join a group. Form a group. Ghana has a lot of problems. And it was not created by one party or the other. We all of it, including you yourself. And if I say very soon, it's not tomorrow. Don't think I'll go tomorrow. But you see what I mean, relatively. And we'll leave you behind. So you have to play a role, Prof, and all the wonderful speakers, and more importantly, you, the youth, carry this message along. The next time we should come with good news, not complaints, so that CDS Africa and all the management and team into your midst, okay? Have a great day, and let's rise up, and help build Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Let's give him another round of applause. So on X is CDS Africa. You can follow and engage with us. Use the hashtag Youth Democracy Forum. And so, or you can also follow August Liberals. It's very, very important. We're wrapping it all up, but let me also say that we're streaming live on YouTube. It's RGG News on YouTube. And you should go subscribing on that channel. It's very, very important. I know that's where you people like to be all the time. So go there.
On behalf of CDS Africa and its board of directors, I am deeply honored to explain that this is really important to you. On that note, I believe that you've been here, you've seen it, you've heard it, and you're challenged to go out and demonstrate it. Prof. Blankson, that was thought-provoking. You've certainly ignited the fire that definitely define who I am, what I'm desiring. I may not, though may have the passion, but I may not know ultimately where I am going to as a destination. So on that note, on behalf of CDS Africa, would like to thank all of you for being here today and for supporting this course, Go, and several others. And we are throwing this invitation to you that this is not just the last of our stop. but you find opportunity to join us wherever you may be in our next, series of the Youth Democracy, Forum. So on that note, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you once again.